Hello. I want to say hello all across the world. I was looking at the analytics and I was seeing that it's not just in one region, but this channel is getting feedback from other regions, and that's why, well, I'm going to say this channel. That's why I created this channel to be all by itself. My other channel is Resilient Truth, where it's more biblical and Bible studies. My doctorate is in biblical studies. I am a mental health therapist intern. I am in the process of being licensed, so please do not take this information that you learn here. This is my disclaimer, that the information that you learn here, please do not take it as your primary or your psychologist or your psychiatrist information. This platform is designed to maybe pose questions that you could use to go seek licensed counsel from your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your mental health therapist, your doctor, your whoever you need to see in your medical field. I was asked to do a topic on dating. Is it a biblical principle? Is dating a biblical principle? And I kind of said no at first, but then I always research and think about it. And then when I think about dating and what it means, or let's just say what it's supposed to mean, I would say that dating is a biblical principle. It's the platform that God uses to shape us and mold us. When he wants to change us or do something or bless us or even persecute us, he brings people into our lives. It would have to be a biblical principle, because the world don't have no principles. The world is just all over the place. It's a smorgasbord with the world. The world has no boundaries. Every man for himself, every woman for herself. So dating has guidelines. It has to have boundaries. And speaking about that, that is what got my attention. I was given a book called Boundaries in Dating by Dr. Cloud and Dr. Townsend. And they also were talking about dating as, being a biblical principle. It all depends on what dating means to you. Dating has to do with who you are. Basically who you are and who you're becoming. It exposes your fruit. It challenges and progresses your character. It builds your character. It shows where your faith is. It shows where you are able to restrain. Because once you have sex with a person, it's no longer dating. In the spirit realm, in God's eyes, it is marriage. So dating is anything that you do with an individual before marriage. You can date while you're married. You can play. You can keep it spicy or whatever. But once you've been there with that other individual, you take out the surprise. They know. You have to do certain things to kind of keep it spiced up or whatever. You can't come with the same old mundane routine, because that gets boring, and they'll find something somewhere else or whatever. That's why marriage should come with a contract. That's why it's not so easy for somebody to walk away and cause emotional hurt, pain, and trauma. Because if you just sleeping around with somebody and there's no contract, no agreement, no marriage certificate, no covenant, legally binding that individual to stay, that person don't have to stay. And that is showing how much value you have in yourself. If you're willing to drop it like it's hot, then you can't be mad or you can't be sorry for, the things or the way people treat you. Because you don't even go long enough to know if that individual wants you or just wants a release. You gotta have enough endurance to see if the individual, what the agenda is of the individual. So dating is a platform that is created or designed so that we can get to know people and we can get to know ourselves through people. Through dating, you get to know what you're attracted to, what you like, what you don't like, what you gonna tolerate, what you think is cute now, and then some people done got married to what they thought was cute, to where what they thought was cute getting on their nerves. He runs around and plays games all the time, and he acts like a child, just fun, sense of humor all the time, and you think that's cute. You the infatuation phase, and he got sense of humor, he just makes me laugh, I love it, everything. But when you get married and that don't change, and he's 40, 50 years old and he's still doing that stuff, and you get upset because he's doing too much, he played too much. You got to be in a relationship, or let's just say dating, long enough to know the seasons of a person. You got to know how they act in the winter, how they act in the summer, the spring, and the fall. You got to know how they act when they ain't got no money or when they got money. You got to know how they act, and not so much how they act. Do you know how you act? When you get a few zeros in your bank account, do you feel life? Or do you feel like you one of them type of people that can't keep two pieces of lint in your pocket to rub together? So dating is the platform used to build us up. We are beings that, God said Adam shouldn't live alone. Man should not live alone. So he created woman. Not so much just so he could have somebody to procreate with, to build a nation, but also somebody that he could talk to. He could talk to the animals all day long, but they really couldn't talk back to him. Not in the language or in the way that they could satisfy him or benefit him. We pour into people all the time, but who do we have in our life that's able to pour into us? Are we sitting around isolating by ourselves all the time? Or maybe we sitting around with a house full of children and there's nobody pouring into us or whatever? Or maybe do we have balance in our life where we are able, like I'm loving it. My daughter been gone another weekend and I'm able to pour into myself, get some things done. My house, together. I'm getting ready to get some more chapters in that book. There's a time and a season for everything. But if you're one of them type of people that's always sitting by yourself on the couch watching TV, and you don't have nobody to pull on the call and talk, you just sitting in the window like the woman in 227, looking at everybody else, being judgmental, casting your judgment on everybody else, talking about everybody else, gossiping about everybody else, living your life vicariously through the, others, being the grapevine, talking about what everybody else is doing, and all you doing is sitting in the window. That's not living. You ought to be able to date yourself. There are times you need to be able to be out there, take yourself to lunch. See where your triggers are. See how you respond. Can you take yourself to lunch by yourself? Can you go sit at a table and have lunch by yourself and not be concerned about everybody looking around you? Oh, she by herself, or who gonna look at you, or can you feel comfortable sitting there at a table, and regardless, in a place that people come all the time, maybe people can you sit in that place at a table having a cup of tea or reading a book or having a sandwich or whatever by yourself knowing that at any given moment somebody can walk in the building and see you by yourself? Does that make you feel uncomfortable? Are you comfortable in your own skin? That's what dating teaches us. We need to know how we are in our own skin. We need to know about ourselves. We need to know what triggers us. We need to know what gets a rise out of us and what doesn't. We need to know our emotional triggers. We need to know how we respond to people and how people treat us. Also, how we respond to how people's treating us. Are we like a yes person? Do we say yes to everything, knowing that it's not right, knowing that it's disrespectful? Do we allow people to get their way in our life, and by any means necessary, and we just sit there and take it, thinking that maybe they'll, one day they won't do it. Maybe they'll respect me. Maybe one day, they'll see that they're doing wrong and they'll repent and they'll be, I'm sorry, and try to do me different. No, they ain't gonna do you different till you open your mouth. Do you have a mouth? Do you have a voice? That's what dating will show you. That's what it will teach you. It will teach you about you. We got some people that's been emotionally hurt, traumatized. I've been one of them in the past. And we stay to ourselves. And when you stay to yourself, you really don't grow. Other than what you pouring into yourself, reading the books. But then you have those that are sitting in front of their big screen TVs, eating ice cream, and they growing, but they growing in weight, not in spirit. So it's all about us. The dating platform is getting to know us as we get to know somebody else. Many use the dating platform as a platform to have safe sex. Well, they think it's safe sex, but most times, even though they in that dating platform, people still stepping out on each other because they ain't got nothing holding them to it. They ain't got no paper. They ain't got no contract. And then there are some that have a contract and they still don't care. They just do what they want to do. So even marriage is not safe because you got some people that want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. But the only safe part in that, I'm going to say the only educated part in that, is you get to know somebody. To know how they act when they struggle, when, they come up against something. You got to be able to go through the seasons with people. You got to know what triggers them. How they act when things don't go their way. When they going through struggle, do they just give it all up and go do something? Because you mess around and ain't married to somebody and somebody going through some financial pains or whatever, and they just go in the bank account, take all y'all money and do whatever they want to do. It's too late to learn then. So dating is a platform that builds you up, gets to know you. You should be getting to know you more than you are getting to know somebody else, because it teaches you. It teaches you what you're going to tolerate, how you respond in certain situations. It teaches you what type of personalities are able to use you, where your emotional traumas are, how desperate you are in a situation. It teaches you a lot of stuff like that. And you should have a guideline. You should know when you want to transition from casual dating into something more closer. Dating does not transition into sex. Say that again. Dating does not transition into sex. Dating transition into marriage. Marriage is where the platform is used to have sex in God's design. Now, if you're doing it beforehand or any other kind of way, then you operating like the world. And the word says that we ain't supposed to be like the world. We supposed to come out from among them. We supposed to do something different. Like I said, that book, Boundaries in Dating, was given to me by Dr. Cloud and Dr. Townsend. And, people was asking me, what I thought about it, And yes, I believe dating is a biblical principle, because dating does not cause you to do anything that's against God. Dating, if it's used properly, used in the context that God would have it be used, is to build you up. It's to learn about you. With anything, it teaches you how to treat other people. And then it shows you how you allow other people to treat you. I always say, you teach people how to treat you by how you carry yourself. People think I'm bougie and I'm over the top or whatever, but I treat myself like that. And if they don't come at me treating me in the same manner of respect, I ain't got to deal with it. If they don't want to deal with it, don't deal with me. Go on about your business. I ain't worried about it. But I don't believe that I have to lead a subservient lifestyle. I don't. Not when I'm pouring into myself, doing everything I need to do, education-wise and all this, getting these degrees or whatever. I need to make these degrees work for me. So it sets me on a greater scale, on a higher class or whatever. I'm middle class now, not low class, or middle income now, not low income. So I'm able to live that life. There are certain people that are judgmental and bougie, or say you bougie, because they don't have the stamina or the ambition to do what you do to get what you got. And dating will treat you or teach you how you are. Dating you can do in any relationship format, because all it is showing you about yourself, how you respond to others and how you relate to others, or how others relate to you. Dating, your parents, sometimes your parents get on your nerves or whatever. Maybe constructive criticism, or maybe you meet in some areas where they never grew up. So you get on I heard some people, they say, I'm my mama's mama, because the mama never educated herself or did anything for herself in her life. And now she's living off of her child or whatever, pulling on her child to get everything done, that type of thing. But it shows you about you, how people rub you. I don't want to say just the wrong way, but it's like sandpaper. Dating is like sandpaper. It's rubbing you a way that you're going to find as pleasing, or maybe you're going to have to compromise or negotiate to try to make things bend and fit, to adapt. But if it's compromising and causing something with your soul, I'd walk away. Don't let nothing come between you and God. Nothing. It's got to line up with God. The relationship, the communication, the dating platform, it's all got to be giving glory to God. If it does not give glory to God, then leave it alone. Because in the ultimate, in the end, that person ain't got no heaven or hell to put you in, and you don't either. So whatever you do, you need to line up with God. And dating just to have a sexual partner, that's not lining up with God. So let me look. I'll say in this book, there was they talked about another book that referenced the habits of defective dating. These are the problems people had with dating, and they stopped dating. They just left it alone because, they got hurt. There was emotional trauma or abuse. in those dating. And I wrote down, there were 7 points I wrote down. The first point was dating leads to intimacy, but not necessarily commitment. It does lead to intimacy. Intimacy is getting closer, looking into the person, getting to know the person, getting, a closer walk with the person so you know how they respond, how they react in certain situations. You get to learn the person. You get to spend time and really learn what the person's personality is. That's intimacy. Intimacy is not sex, like I said the other day on the video. Intimacy is not sex. Intimacy is a closer relationship with an individual that, could be your ride or die. I mean, you somebody that you trust, somebody that you they know everything about you, kind of thing. That's intimacy. Somebody you trust to air out everything about you. But that intimacy don't necessarily lead to commitment. We as women, and some men too, we become intimate with an individual and we feel like we got a problem because maybe that individual ain't on the same page. So we that ride or die for that individual, and then next thing you know, that individual is telling us that they get married to somebody else. And we done sat up here and gave our whole life, being loyal to this individual, putting everything on hold, thinking it's going to go one way. But this individual was doing that and more with somebody else. Not necessarily saying they having sex, but they being intimate with somebody else, that intimacy did lead to marriage. That they proposed to that individual and not to us. We done put our life on hold. And now we blaming them because we done wasted all this time in our mind. We done wasted all this time, put our life on hold, while they wasn't putting their life on hold. They were still dating. That's our fault. Beyonce said if it ain't no ring on the finger. There are some things I do agree with Beyonce and Michelle Obama, all them. There are some things I do agree. If you ain't got a contract, why are you acting like you do? If you acting like wifey, then they don't have to make you a wife. My grandfather said it like this. If you got a cow sitting in your living room, why you gonna get up and go to the store and buy some milk? So people get hurt because of these defective habits that they have in dating. Like I say, number one, just because you become close or you become intimate with somebody, intimate meaning that you pouring your heart out to them, you telling them all your secrets and everything, and after you done told them all your secrets, it don't lead to a commitment. That's hurtful. It's traumatic. I just went through a situation with an individual where they were telling me all their secrets and becoming open with me, and it didn't lead to marriage or anything because I understood that individual was married. It didn't lead anywhere. That's another thing. You ain't got no business being intimate, telling your business to somebody else, making them believe or leading them to believe that it's going to be in marriage is going to be the end result, or y'all going to be together if you already betrothed to somebody else. That's infidelity. That's against God. That is not leading to God. That's doing as the world do, having your cake and eating it too. That ain't right. That's against God. That's not, biblical. That's an abomination is what that is. So I guess it is biblical, but it's on the negative side. It's abomination. So the biblical principle in that is don't commit infidelity. Don't be an infidel. The second point they had was dating tends to skip the friendship space of a relationship and mistakes a physical relationship for love. Dating is not where you're trying to be a friend. If you're playing wifey or you playing the role, you're cohabitating, you whatever. Matter of fact, cohabitating, that's dating too, because you're getting to know a person, you living with them and all that kind of stuff. But that's not biblical. That's not godly. Because again, if you living with them, why they got to do anything to seal the deal? He already getting the benefits. He already reaping the benefits. So what's going to make him go down there and get a contract, sign the contract, pay all that money to get the license and pay all the money just for a ceremony? Why? He already getting the prize. He already getting the end result, the honeymoon before the ceremony. What's the point? So dating allows us to be intimate, yes. But we got to have boundaries to where we don't skip the friendship part. We got to become friends. If not, you'll become foes. Because you'll be marrying somebody that you really don't know. You'll be marrying somebody that you just did everything you could do to have sex with. And then generally that's what happens is a lot of people, that's all they have is sex. That's how they come together is sex. They don't have nothing to talk about. They don't know nothing about each other. They just come together to have that physical relationship. And when they get done, generally the man gets up, washes his stuff in the sink and goes about his business. And the woman sitting there like, why? There's no conversation. They don't know enough about each other to know if they have a conversation, if they have any commonalities. So we got to learn to walk with people, get to know people. Stop let our flesh run us. Paul said it like this: if you're burning, go ahead and get married. The flesh be burning. It be trying to get to that point. Sigmund Freud, one of the psychotherapists, scientists, he did psychoanalytics and dynamics, and he did a lot of approaches. One thing he said is sex is a drive, a human drive. It will drive you to do what it wants you to do. If it's, if you're not taking care of that area of your life, it's going to drive you. It causes perversion in men. They do stuff with children. We heard about people getting caught masturbating in public, and it's a drive. It really messes you with your brain. It's a serious drive on the inside of you. It's a form of worship, actually, in the demonic realm. So sex is not something that you play with. It's not something that you can just look over. You have to create boundaries. You have to make sure that you are balanced in your life, mind, body, and spirit, which means you can't just say you're not going to be in relationship with anybody when we were created to be relational beings. God himself said man should not live alone. Adam couldn't create or build his nation without Eve. So you know what he had to do with Eve? After he sinned, he found out what Eve was supposed to be, and then that's when they had their first child, Cain. So God gave it to us, and the Bible says everything that God created and he gave to us was good. So if God gave us that and it's good, we need to operate and be in a position to where we're doing what we're supposed to do as God designed it. We can't be isolating, being by ourselves, being bitter, and that ain't gonna calm down the hormones. Matter of fact, if you do not take care of that stress or that tension, you can form a mental illness just sitting there. Now, I'm not saying people are supposed to run out and go have sex. I'm not saying that. I'm saying make sure that you are mentally sound. Make sure that you are able to have communication with people, that you have social skills with people, that you can talk to people and have balance in that area of your life. To maybe and I'm basically talking to the younger generation, because us older ones, we done went through menopause and everything, and we really ain't think about that. But be able to be in a situation where you can have social skills and you can be healthy, and you're not creating an environment where you can contract a mental illness. Pressure busts a pipe. And if you holding on to stuff, trying to just deny something that God created, this body that he created is very complex. It does what it's supposed to do. And if you just call yourself wanting to deny it and not do anything about it, just keep putting it off in the back burner, the recesses of your mind, you might find yourself developing Alzheimer's, dementia, and anything, because it's a drive, it's an energy, it's a tension. It's a hormone, cortisol hormone, that can change your molecular system. What I'm saying is, you can't be sitting up bitter, judgmental, and be with grudges, keeping yourself isolated from people. Matter of fact, Dr. Tracy Marks did a video, a podcast on isolation, the effects of isolation. Maybe I'll try to find that, link that in the description below. But what I'm saying is, all this killing the flesh, denying the flesh, all this kind of stuff, it's time out. We got to have common sense. God gave this to us for a reason. We need to learn to manage it in a healthy way, in a holy way. He wouldn't have gave us nothing to hurt us. And it functions in the way that it's supposed to function. Unless, like I said, it has a mental illness or a dysfunction already. It functions. It's going to do what God designed it to do. So if God designed your body to procreate and have babies and everything else, and you have opened Pandora's box, you've lost your virginity and everything, then you're going to experience the things that you're going to experience, because God put it in there. He designed it before the foundations of the world. He designed it in you. And if you sit there and allow your body to go through puberty, that's an example. The change, it's like a metamorphosis. It's going to go through whether you want to or not, because that's how God designed it. We don't try to kill it. We got to learn to adapt and live with it, live through it. That don't mean we go out there and try to sleep with everybody. But this walk is learning how to live in the bodysuit that we in. We are spirit beings. We need to learn to walk in the spirit, but walk in a way that we are not abomination to God, that we are not living in the flesh, that we are not governed by the cares of this world, the cares of our flesh, that we're not running around being nymphos or whatever, that we learn how to discipline this flesh, to make this flesh do what we want it to do, and not the flesh just lead the spirit in the way it want to do. That's what that's about. It's not about killing the flesh. If you want to kill the flesh, get a gun. Blow your head off. That's easy. The work is in learning how to govern your life in this flesh. Live a healthy life that pleases God while you in this flesh. Where am I at? Number 3 is dating isolates a couple from other vital relationships. Playing marriage. We already talked about that a little bit. When you want to be loyal, you isolating, you dating, you just, I'm only with you or whatever. And that's how, you get to spend your time, spend life, because you're based upon another person when they want to be ready. There's no contract, there's no commitment, there's no agreement. You could be sitting there like that for the rest of your life. There's got to be some type of agreement. Well, maybe we gonna do this for a year. And when that year happens, you revisit that. And if it's still doing that, you make your decision whether you still want to be loyal, doing that. But like I said, that ain't having sex. Once you have sex, you have married the person. You got generational curses and spirits in effect then. You got hormones in effect then. You have soul ties created being in effect then. Dating is just being in a space, getting to know somebody. So it's safe to say that when you can date more than one person. It's just we get loyal and we want to be wifey and we want to hone in on one individual. Because we think about having sex. Or maybe we are having sex with that one individual. But if you're just dating to get to know people, you building up people, you can't tell everybody all your business. But you get to know people to the point where you realize if you can tell them your business or if you can trust them in certain areas, that's how we supposed to be with everybody, we meet, we spend any kind of time with. That's basically dating, is getting to know somebody. And when you got to pull back and when you can't give them privileged information or whatever. Like I said, I don't know if it's therapist on my forehead or whatever, because, I'm a therapist intern. I said that earlier, that, people come and tell me all their business or whatever. But they know they can trust me because they wouldn't tell me their business if they couldn't. And then after they do, and then they don't get what they want or it doesn't go the way that they had planned, they get scared that I'm going to tell all their business. But I value who I am. I ain't going to let nobody change my personality just because of, what they think they say I'm going to do or whatever. So they just better be glad that they was able to trust somebody that was real. I'm one of the type of people that'll take it to my grave. But if I'm asked about it, I ain't gonna lie about it. I'm just gonna say it like that. But when people get close enough to trust you with their whole heart, and then they do something and they lose access to you, that's like an emotional detachment. That's like a death, a friendship, because you don't have that access anymore. So, like I said, it skips a friendship. It skips the friendship space of a relationship and mistakes physical relationships for love. Sex ain't love. I don't know how many times I can say that. Sex is not love. Men can have sex with a woman and care nothing about them. They don't have an emotional attachment unless their heart is involved. And men don't normally put their heart involved in who they having sex with. Unless they really like this woman. Unless they got to know this woman. Unless they are getting ready to give that woman their last name. So for the women that's running around dating, oh, I'm going to go ahead and give it to them, that's not love. That's you opening up Pandora's box to a soul tie, to where you got that man's spirit running on the inside of you, and all his thoughts and visions and everything going on the inside of you, and he ain't thinking about you in that capacity if he's not loyal and seeing other people. When a man proposes, I ain't gonna say it like that. I said the other day, pay attention to what he calls you. Pay attention to how he addresses you. If he addresses you as his friend, that's what you are. If he addresses you as his girlfriend, that's what you are. If he addresses you as his very good friend, that's what you are. Don't make yourself out to be more than you are in the eyes of man. Because men are logical. They ain't trying to attach no emotion to it. Men are very logical. Now you have some of the men out there that are emotional. Those are the ones with insecurities. Those are the ones that have been through some things, and maybe they desperate, to get a woman, and they're very emotional, and they find out to be stalkers and stuff like that. But for the most part, men are logical, and you be reading more into a man than normal if you sitting there thinking that just because you sleep with a man that he in love with you. Men can run around and put notches in their belt and care nothing less. Like I say, for the most part, they do, get up, wash their stuff in the sink, and they on to the next. They don't run around thinking about love like women do. Because, like I said, men are left brain. They're logical. Women are right brain. We're emotional. And we need to learn how to govern our life through, govern our emotions. Not counsel them, but govern them. Everything God gave us is good. I said that. But we need to learn to govern ourselves accordingly with the things that God has given us. We need to learn to govern ourselves being logical. Sometimes you can be so logical to where people don't know that you love them because you just squeeze the emotion out of it, yet you're so logical. And sometimes you can be so emotional that you can suffocate somebody to where you just so in love that they can't breathe. So we need to learn to govern. We need to learn to have balance and govern our emotions and govern how we think about things, our logic. The next one is dating distracts from the primary responsibility for preparing for the future, especially in younger generations. You're dating and you're making these plans to have life and a home and children and all these kind of things, and you're spending so much time together having fun because you got all these hormones and pleasure principles, the cortisol, the oxycodone, the oxycodone hormone going through. That's canceling out the cortisol, which is the stress hormone. You got all these good feeling hormones going through your body because you enjoying spending time with this person, infatuated and all this kind of stuff. And while you doing that, time is whisking away, and you ain't got no education. You ain't got no financial literacy. You haven't done nothing to pour into yourself for your future. Naturally, you end up laying around having sex day in, day out. And life becomes mundane because when the honeymoon season is over, I say it all the time, when the infatuation and all that, the hormones start calming down and you get back down to reality, and you realize that when you ain't got no money or you can't get a job or you can't pay your bills and you got all the other struggles of life, the realities of life coming up, because you were spending all your time being in that individual. I say a woman's head stuck up that man's behind to the point, and vice versa, to where they can't see straight, they can't see life, to where they can't see that they need to be out here doing something to get investments or build a life, retirement, get their nest egg going, build a legacy, to where they just with that individual, it takes away time. It distracts us from our primary responsibility of making sure that we're straight in the end. Usually we end up leaving debt to our children. Because when we die, it don't just cancel. Normally, unless we've set some things in place, normally it just goes on to the next of kin. The next one is dating can cause discontentment with God's gift of singleness. Paul himself, the Apostle Paul, says singleness is a gift. He remained single because he wanted to be, he wrote the 13 books of the New Testament. He was in God. He was grateful for everything that God did for him. He took a Christian killer. Like I said, I don't like Christian. He took a man that was killing believers and turned him into a man that, was teaching and loving believers and leading them to Christ. He took something that was totally one way and flipped him a 180 and changed his life around. And he was grateful. So he stayed single because he wanted to make sure he heard from God. That's when we in the throes of passion and we in a relationship, we got all these voices and stuff coming. Number one, we mostly be listening to the other individual that we in love with. That's what Adam did. He was looking at what he could see. He was looking at Eve more than listening to God who was in his heart. And that's how we ended up in this mess. Because he didn't put his foot down. He listened to the woman. And he didn't do what God say do. So it's a gift to be singleness, because those of us that are single, we pay attention to God, and those of who in a relationship are cares of the world, of the spouse that we with. So the discontentment is we don't have that me time with God anymore. It's all mostly taken up by someone that is in our life. Their needs and wants and desires. And generally they're pulling on us. We're getting to know them and they getting to know us, and we pulling on each other. Versus the time we have, like the time I have alone, just pull on God. Do what I want to do. Just hear him. I don't have nobody pulling on me. So, like I said, I've been on the sabbatical all month. Because y'all know I celebrate the whole month for my birthday. And I've just been loving it. But I know that some people got some things brewing up. My kids, number one, they be asking me questions, and they can't ask me in a way that I don't know what's going on. And then some people I work with, they ask me questions, and it happened to be on a certain day, and then the Bible study, and they think they're gonna surprise, and that's one thing about surprises. I don't know if I like surprises so much, but it's nice to have people that want to celebrate you, and I enjoy it. But I'm one of those type of people. I celebrate the whole month, doing things that I want to do, focus on me, focus on what, how I'm going to prepare myself into the next year, what I'm going to do different next year that I didn't do this year, how I'm going to grow, making sure I'm sticking with God, seeing which way God want to go. I'm not one of those people that want to be put up on a pedestal. So when people celebrate with me, it puts me on a pedestal, makes me feel different because I'm humble. I'm not all out there about myself. I'm just not one of those people. But I hear it coming. I hear the Lord telling me that I'm going to have this happening over here and that happening over there. They ain't so much said it, but how they asking, what my schedule is, and I need you here and do this. You kind of know. So I got to govern myself accordingly. But yes, they pulling on me. Anyway, the next one is dating creates an environment for celebrating another person's character or validating another person's character. So when you get to know somebody and you're walking with them and you get to validate them, not that we need validation per se, because God can validate us, but it does feel good. Like I just said, I got all these events that's about to take place around my birthday, and that validates that these people recognize me. They know me. That they want to celebrate with me the life. They want to celebrate my life with me. That's what dating should do. You should be able to celebrate another's journey. They support them in what they want to do. Help them along the way. Give them, constructive criticism. That's what a friend does. A friend don't tell you what you want to hear. They tell you what you need to know to help you get to where you're going. That's why Jesus called Judas a friend. Judas was the one who had him crucified, who led to the crucifixion. So your friend is the one who comes against you. Your friend is the one who persecutes you. So that's who your friend is. Somebody that's sitting there ain't going to tell you the truth and they just going along with you. That ain't your friend. That's the one that's wanting to fall down with you. That's the one, the yes person. They just want to make you feel good so you stay in their circle. They don't want to be by themselves. That ain't no friend. But anyway, it's validating another person's wants, desires, support, helping them along their journey. Dating is not a selfish thing. Dating is allowing somebody else into your life to propel them, perpetuate them to greatness. Not to pull them down. In dating you find that too, but that's manipulative. That's not glorifying God. Get away from them. But in validating another person, celebrating another person, helping other people grow, achieve, coming in to help people, be better, or blessings, that's what that's all about. So dating is good. People have had habits of finding themselves in defective issues with dating, and because of those they've stopped dating and they've isolated. And when you isolate, that's like a spiritual death. You can't complain that you don't have the blessings of God if you don't have the hands of God around you that he can use to be a blessing to you. Yeah, he can use these hands to bless ourselves, but we get to doing that too much. That's selfish. We got to be able to give. We got to be able to give to others. And if we isolate ourselves, we put ourselves in a position where we can't give. And if we can't give, we're not honoring the word of God. We're not operating in love. Because love gives, it doesn't take. Manipulation takes. Love gives. So if you're sitting around by yourself in isolation, you can't even love. Therefore, if you don't have love, you can't receive love. Because you can only receive what you have. Anyway, like I say, dating lacks boundaries. Dating can be a lack of boundaries. Dating sets boundaries. That's what it does. If you don't have no boundaries in dating, you end up walling around in sex. You out of control. You acting just like the world. What's the point in dating? When you don't have no control or no boundaries, you're not dating no longer. You're married. You mixing spirits, hormones, soul ties. That's the seal is a soul tie is what you've created. Then you ain't no longer dating. You tied together. Your soul is anchored in hell normally. So selfish gratification of the person at the expense of another is usually experienced by women. Men, and I say that because it's pretty much, you don't see too many women. You got gold diggers and Jezebels, yes. Men, as an example, go and get their release. Wash their stuff and go on to the next. It's just a selfish gratification. They would rather do that in a place than to sit at home and do it by themselves with some Vaseline. So there's no difference in that. So if you are putting yourself in a relationship and you have no boundaries and you're allowing that to happen, you're allowing your intimacy to get into that, to where you're having sexual intercourse with an individual, being, their sexual gratification, they get up and do something else because there's no commitment, that ain't on them. That's on you. Because you should have put the boundary up. If you didn't set the boundary, they couldn't have done it. You run around being mad at them, mad at the world, isolating yourself, they going off doing themselves, living their life. And you sitting up with the grudge, with the offense. Okay. Dating is not good for the vulnerable or the insecure individual because of their potential to be used or taken advantage of. If you are insecure, and I know a lot of people that's insecure. If you are insecure, or you're desperate, or you so want to be in a relationship, you so want to be married or whatever, and you're very, very vulnerable, you can be taken advantage of. You don't know who you are. You don't have a strong sense of self. You don't have self-confidence. You don't know your values. You don't stand on your values. You don't put your foot down, that type of thing. Then dating ain't for you. Because people ain't going to do nothing but use you. They're going to get the best of you, and it's just going to hurt you. And when you finally get tired of it and say something, they're going to go on about their business. Because if they cared, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. If you allow a relationship to start, whatever you start, you got to constantly keep on to keep it going. So if I allow a person to come in here and I'm constantly I'm out here doing the work, paying the bills and all that kind of stuff, and this individual wants to sit around here, look at the TV, and, eat up the food, that's the boundary, that's the guidelines that I'm setting, that I'm okay with that, they can do that. But the moment I say, look, I'm out here paying these bills, doing this, you're going to have to get up and go to work, they're going to get up and be gone because they've gotten comfortable doing what you allowed them to do or what I allowed them to do. Maybe that's all they wanted to do. Maybe they didn't want to build a legacy together. Maybe they don't want to get up and go to work and put our monies together and build and grow together. Maybe they just wanted to come in, be pampered, and go about their business. You got to pay attention to how people treat you. You got to pay attention to how you allow yourself to be treated. It ain't their fault, it's your fault. That's what I'm saying. We got to stop blaming everything on the man, because the man can't do what we don't allow them to do. A lot of them don't like me because I bought my own Cadillac, and I didn't need none of them to do it. And I don't act like I need none of them to do it. So they be upset when they come to me and they can't get me to do what they want them to do. Well, yeah, they can't get me to do what they want me to do. So they go back and scratching their head trying to come up with another way or whatever. I learned a long time ago, they can throw that pickle around and it don't get a rise out of me. Because I learned in my former profession, as I said before on that other video, Setting the Record Straight, that they come in all shapes and sizes. They come in all different colors. Some of them got a lean. Some of them got a hook. Some of them got, they come in different formats. But they all do the same thing. And if you can't get a rise out of one, you can always get a rise out of another. So it's not beneficial that I need one of those in my life. I've learned that I can go out here with God and in God and do everything that I'm supposed to do and live my best life without that. So I'm not looking for that. I'm not settling for that. When they come to me, they got to have some conversation. They got to have some communication. They got to have something to talk about something that can sustain the relationship when we ain't doing that or whatever. So if they ain't got nothing to talk about, if they ain't got nothing to bring to the table, I ain't got time for it. You know, some people, I know a few of them that because the sex is good, they put up with some stuff, some serious stuff, and they going through all kind of hell simply because of that one I'm trying to be of that one body part. Let's just say that. It ain't all that for me. It ain't. I'm not going to put up with all that hell just to keep up with that. If it was all that for me, I wouldn't put up with all that hell. I would go out and do what I want to do with different ones and then still keep my peace at home. Like I say, people, they think I'm living a boring life, but I know who I am. I love my person. I love who the woman that God created me to be. I can sit here in peace that surpasses all understanding. I don't have to have somebody running through my door, my front door, my bedroom door all the time when my kids ain't, or my children ain't here or whatever. I'm enjoying my house to myself. I can sit by myself. I can take myself to lunch. I can be by myself at a table, no matter who comes in the door, who sees me sitting there by myself. I can do that. I'd rather be by myself than be with a demon. I would. So, every once in a while, people come by and see me. We sit there and have a good conversation or whatever. You know, I enjoy life. You know, make people hearts smile. That's what I want to do. Make people hearts smile. And they go on about their business. You know, I have the peace of my home. I don't have to put up with all this. I'll be 53 years old in 8 days. No, 7 days. And I am enjoying life. I don't have to have all that extra. I don't have to have no man pulling on me. I especially don't have to have one pulling in my pocketbook or always in my cash app. I don't need all that. I don't want all of that. I want a man, if I'm going to get a man, I want a man that gives as much as he receives. If he ain't giving as much as he's receiving, according to the measure, he ain't, bye. Keep it pushing. So I want to be able to build a kingdom, not have somebody keep taking, what I have and I can't build. You got to know your values, know what you want to do. And when you get somebody in your life, you ought to be able to keep doing what you want to do and they don't bring you down or hinder you or whatever. It should be an addition. It help you. Not somebody to come into your life and they just destroy your life. So many times I've had to go through that. I be having stuff going good, and as soon as this person come into my life, the bottom falls out or whatever. They lose access to me, I go build again somewhere else. So make sure when you dating, you keep the ones that's an addition, that's building your life. Not the ones that's tearing you down. It was talking about the benefits of dating in that book. Like I said, Dr. Townsend and Dr. Cloud, and the boundaries in dating. It said the first benefit was the opportunity to learn about themselves and others. We talked about that. Dating is a platform where we can grow emotionally and relationally. This is just key points because we've already talked about this. Number 2 is provides a context to work through issues, what you value and what you're attracted to. You work through issues. You work through when you have money, when you don't have money. How you respond, how you relate. More so than how the individual relates. Because when it's all said and done, we all go in that box by ourselves. Number 3, it builds your relationship skills. When you go through things with people, you learn from those, what you go through, And then when you get into other relationships, you remember what you went through, and it betters you, it increases you. So it builds your relationship skills. So, the first one may not be the one. You may end up having to go to another one or whatever. But when you find that other one and you use those tools that you learned from the previous relationship, you get better. It pushes you to greatness. Another benefit of dating is it heals and repairs your emotional and relationship traumas that you've had in previous relationships. When somebody leaves your life, usually somebody comes in to fill the hole of the spot of that individual that left. If somebody, if it's a man that tore you down, being manipulative all the time and, taking things from you, generally somebody will be led into your life that's going to be giving, constantly giving to. And, you got to work your way through that and find balance or whatever. So dating heals and repairs emotional traumas and relational traumas. God uses people to bless us. God brings people in our life. If we sitting around isolated and we ain't allowing people or don't want to have no social skills and communication skills with anybody because we've been hurt and traumatized, then how's God supposed to heal or repair? How's God supposed to bless us? We got to be able to get over it. We got to be able to forgive and forget. Learn to forget. Then you'll say you're going to just forget overnight, but you're going to learn to forget some things, and then you're going to learn not to take out what that other person did on somebody else. That's how you learn to forget. Because if you keep remembering what somebody else did, you're going to carry that with you, and it's going to affect every other relationship in your life. So another one is relationship has value in itself. And so intimacy is not complete in dating because there is no sexual bonding. Intimacy, it causes you to be close. It draws you closer to the person. It draws you close in spirit. And then with the sexual relationship releases the tension. So it gets you there, but it's not complete because you don't have that release. So that's where you got to have a boundary. That's where you got to have, some discipline, some long suffering. You got to know everything. This is why I say if you're vulnerable, if you're insecure, if you're in this area where you can't have, discipline or boundaries, that you just fall out and have sex with people, dating ain't for you. So, but you got to have some discipline to where you can draw close to people, get to know people, tell them your secrets, they tell you theirs. And as you know, he said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. So you drawn to people, but you got to have the discipline not to commit sin, not to have sex with that individual and mess your blessing. If you are unable to do that, you need to take time to build that part of you up and leave dating alone. Because if not, you're going to always find yourself in between the sheets. Falling in between the sheets. Because as soon as you get close to somebody, as soon as you feel emotional with somebody, oh, he loves me. He cares for me. You're going to find yourself 90 days later, as the books say. And then on the 91st day, or the first day after that you have sex with them, you can't find them. Because they was just doing it just to get that. It's a hunt. It's a game. If you don't see their heart emotionally, you don't see what they're giving, and if you don't experience yourself receiving from this individual, then 9 times out of 10, y'all ain't on the same page. If you're constantly giving, all the way up to that point where you giving the cookie too, that person ain't relational with you. That person ain't trying to build no legacy or be with you. You got to experience receiving before you give that. If they always giving, learn, get to know the person. If they always giving, then maybe you got something to work with. But if they ain't giving nothing and they always around and you think, oh, I'm just going to do this, because this is I'm ready now. This is going to bring us closer together. No. You're going to find yourself sitting there alone. Wondering where he at. Calling on the phone and he ain't answering the phone no more. Blowing up the phone, text messages or whatever. And he ain't responding. Because he done got what he want, he gone. He done released that tension. He done played all the rules in the book. Finally got it. It's the hunt, I'm trying to tell you. He done succeeded. He done got the game. And you sitting there being the game. Anyway, another one is learns what we have in the opposite sex or the flesh. Learns what we love in the opposite sex or the flesh. Some of us learn that, this opposite sex, but some of us learn that we are attracted to the same sex. That's why I said the flesh. Some of us learn that we have fetishes. Some of us learn that perversion. There are people that like sleeping with children, like that movie Sound of Freedom. That's a real movie. Some people are perverted. They are attracted by children. We learn. That's when, you have either a mental illness or you have that drive so stuck up on the inside of you to where it crosses wires in your brain and causes you to do perverted things. Do things that's unseemly. Like to have a grown man having sex with a child or a grown woman molesting her child. That's where you get those things at, because that drive is so strong on the inside to where if it doesn't have a healthy release, that tension isn't released, the stress isn't reduced in a healthy manner, it's going to pervert itself. Somehow, some way, you're going to find some type of mental illness. It's going to manifest in a negative way. Dementia, Alzheimer, perversion, it's going to come out. That's how we get those type of things. People doing stuff that they ain't got no business doing. We got to have sexual self-control. Some people use sex as a substitute for a relationship because they have no relationship or communication skills. Some people never educated themselves. Some people don't have no conversation. Some people don't read no book. Some people don't have no topic that get a rise out of them because they ain't studying no topics. And they get into a relationship and all they want to do is have sex because they don't feel comfortable to sit and talk. What they gonna talk about? They don't have no communication skills. They don't know how to communicate. Their communication is having sex because that's all they know how to do. They never personally developed themselves. So when you get into a relationship and all that individual wants to do is have sex, find out if you can have a conversation with them. If they can't have a conversation, that's because they don't know nothing. Now, I ain't saying leave them. Maybe you can lead them to guide them to find out, something y'all can talk about. Build the relationship, build the communication skills, build them the social skills. That's what I do. BST, PSR, basic skills training, psychosocial rehabilitation. I'm a therapist and a practitioner as well, mental health associate as well. Jill of all trades or whatever. So you can teach people how to have communication skills. You can teach people how to have social skills, but they got to want to learn. They got to want to hear. They got to want to develop. They can't just have that area driving everything that they want to do. They just want to, release. And then after they release, they go on to do something else. And then they don't want to think about it until it's time to release again. So some people just use that as a substitute in a relationship because they don't know nothing better. They don't know nothing else to do. We got to be aware. We got to discern the spirit. We got to find out the agenda of the people that come to us. If we really want to stay holy, if we really want to be able to walk in spirit and truth, we got to be able to understand what they're coming to us for. They got an agenda. We got to find out if we're going to line up with that agenda. What they looking for. What are they seeking? What are they after? So are they after just for a rump in the hay? Or are they after a long-term commitment? You know, are they willing to date, or are they just willing to jump into bed? You know, it all depends on what dating means to you. If you're dating to marry, then yeah, you grow up, you learn a person, you learn about yourself and everything like that. It's a biblical principle. But if you dating just to have sex, that ain't God. That's not a biblical principle. Plus nowadays, you could mess around there and have sex and kill yourself. Because just because they ain't talking about AIDS don't mean it ain't out there. Just because they ain't talking about herpes and syphilis don't mean they ain't still out there. We talk about things that's non-curable. Just because they done got hush-hush on them don't mean they ain't out there. I know people in the mental health field, I'm going to say arena, that are running around having sex and they got, I'm going to say diagnosis. That if they were caught, they could be charged with attempted murder. So, like I said before, when you don't take care of the drive will take care of you, which means it will pervert you. So, you got to be able to take care of your body in a healthy manner. You got to be able to control and govern this flesh. If you cannot govern and control the flesh in a healthy manner, mental illness is real. I'm telling you now, so I don't have to see you later. We got to stop running around here talking about we trying to kill the flesh. You can have what you say. Suicide, that's how you kill the flesh. But you cannot run around here living in something and have it dead. If the flesh is dead, you can't move. You can't do, you in the ground. Use common sense here. So that means we gotta, instead of trying to run around talking about we gonna kill the flesh, we gotta die to the flesh. We have to die to the flesh daily. That means our spirit needs to not do what the flesh wants us to do daily. That means we have to have some governance, some discipline over the flesh. But to just simply deny the flesh, just to simply say we're going to abstain from something, we have to put something else in that place. We can't just create a void and it's just there. Because that void is going to try to be filled with something else. It's going to create an addiction. You know, when you stop doing drugs, you got to put something else in its place. So that way you don't relapse. So when you take something away, you got to have something healthy to replace it. That's how you get over addictions. That's how you break habits. So we got to start investing in ourselves, in our relationships. And stop investing in relationships that's not fulfilling to us. I guess I'll come back and, because this is over an hour, I'll come back and talk about, the boundary problems with dating and stuff like that. But at a later time. But if we start pouring into ourselves so much, creating boundaries and figuring out what we value, then it will be better for it. We can manage our dating relationships better. We can govern this flesh better. But like I said, if you're one of those ones that don't have no discipline on your flesh and you can't control yourself in a situation, Teddy Pendergrass said, turn off the lights. So if you can't control yourself when the lights get turned off, you don't need to be out there. You need to be spending your time personally developing yourself, finding out what your values are, being integral, learning the doctrine, the will, and the design of God for your life. That's what you need to be doing. Building your self-confidence, building your self-esteem. Because if you take low self-esteem out there, the enemy is just going to bring you people that's going to keep pushing you down further. That's going to keep pounding your self-esteem to where you're going to feel like a rag doll. So, dating is for healthy people. People that they got a mindset. They strong in who they are, in their faith. That's who dating is for. But if you're not strong and you're not willing to just fall in a marriage situation where you're wifey and there's no certificate, no documentation, and you just going along with the flow, I would say build yourself up. It begins with personal development. Make sure your self-esteem can handle all what the cares of the world and dating is going to throw at you. Because in order to learn yourself and learn about others, you're going to go through the struggles. You're going to get some hurt and pain. You're going to go through some men and women that is going to use you and manipulate you and lie to you and maybe steal from you. And those are the punching. They punching on you. They making you stronger. Like meekly, like they tenderizing you. You have to go through those things. And if you're not ready to go through those things, then don't do it. Dating ain't for you. Build yourself up. Like I said, build your self-confidence, personal development. Pour into yourself. Because life is going to happen. And usually when it happens, it hurts. Trying to mash your life in with somebody else's life, that's what it is. Marriage becomes one body. Trying to mash your spirit in with another spirit, you're going to struggle. Some days you're going to win, some days they going to win. It ain't a one-man's thing. You just ain't going to have it your way. Some people are isolated and by themselves because they like having things their way. They don't want to be a team player. They just want to do what they want to do when they want to do it. And they sit there by themselves in pain and lonely because they don't want to be a team player. They don't want to communicate with nobody because they know other people got a voice. Usually when they are with somebody or, in the presence of other people, they are with people that they dominate, that they control, that they feel like they can tell what to do. They can manipulate. And, as long as they manipulate them and they in control, that controlling spirit, they're good. But the moment that they find that they can't control you, they got a problem with you. You don't see them no more. They don't call you. They don't text, they don't write because you ain't on their team. You ain't for them no more. You ain't going to listen no more. You got a voice. You can tell them about themselves. You got just as much confidence as they got. You realize that they ain't got no heaven or hell to put you in. And you're not going to be controlled. And when they find out that you're not going to be controlled, they ain't got nothing else to do with you. They try to get rid of you. It's time to be done with her. Put her away. She ain't with the program no more. That type of thing. So, dating, it all depends on you. Find out, know in yourself if you're ready to date. If you can handle being in a relationship or being in an area or a platform with an individual, whether you can have boundaries not to do things that you're not supposed to do, not to go off and sleep with any and everybody. You know where you're desperate, where you're integral, where your insecurities are. You know whether you can handle it. You and only you yourself. God knows too. So if you know that you're not strong in that area, get strong. I'm not telling you go isolate. I'm not going to go against God's word and say, be by yourself. God say man should not live alone. And he meant that. So I'm going to go along with God. I'm not saying that we're supposed to be by ourselves. I'm just saying enjoy your singleness. If you're not enjoying your singleness, then that means maybe God is trying to bring somebody else into your life. He didn't ask Adam, did he want somebody? He just put Adam to sleep and created somebody. So if God is about to drop somebody in your life, you'll know it. You'll also know if you're ready for that. You'll also know if you can handle that. Can you handle a relationship and not lose God? And not lose the relationship that you have with God? If you were to get in a relationship, can you handle that relationship and not have to repent because you done fell in the throes of passion? You done fell for some sex. Sex is not a relationship. It's an act. It's a form of worship is what it is. So if that's what you're getting into this part just so you can have sex, you're going to be highly disappointed. It ain't going to be all that it's caked up to be. You're not going to enjoy life like you think you're going to enjoy it. Because you ain't going to find joy in that other individual. Joys of the Holy Ghost. Joys of the Spirit of God. When you can find somebody and build a relationship with somebody and have joy with that somebody, means you have God and that somebody, which means you have God and you not sinning, which cancels out God. You have, a holy relationship with somebody, then that's when you gonna have the life and life more abundantly. But like I said, this is over an hour. We'll revisit this and I'll talk about boundary problems on another day. But like I said, dating comes to show you who you are. Go into it with that mindset. Find out your values, what you stand for, what you don't stand for. Don't go into it just trying to get in somebody's bed or have somebody get in your bed, because it ain't even about that. That's just sex. You don't have to have no stipulation or boundaries to have sex if that's what you want. But to have a godly relationship, to have one that is blessed of God, you got to have boundaries. You got to know you're going to be with somebody that glorifies and loves God the way you do. That has the same values, and y'all can work together and y'all can glorify God together. Neither one of y'all going to do something or lead the other one to do something that's going to cancel out God in their life or lead them to sin. That's not a friend. That's somebody that's trying to get over on you, take advantage of you. That's the enemy. So, y'all stay blessed, and I'm going to, like I say, we'll go on talk about boundary problems, when it pertains to dating on another episode. I said the other day too that I've been asked to start talking about sexual abuse. So we're going to go deep. That is a lot of things that's plaguing women and men too. We finding out more and more lately. But that's plaguing women because we are under that. It violates us. It takes our self-esteem and our everything. If you don't ever do the work to build yourself back up, then no wonder why your life is going the way it's going. You're allowing that sexual abuse to define you. And that's, you can overcome it. You can get out from under it. You can release that. You can cast that back into the pits of hell from where it came from. You don't have to let it define you. Let something that happened define you. you can go forward. You can move forward. You can be in God. For me to have been sexually molested for 14 years of my life and be sitting up here on this platform or preaching in a platform with a room of people, normally people isolate. You know, they don't want to be seen. They got this. For God to raise me up to do that, what more can he do for you? To be a mental health therapist intern, you know, what more can God do for you? But anyway, y'all stay blessed.